You won't believe what this young customer revealed that changed everything for the bank manager. Jason walked into the small-town bank, heart racing and hands clammy. The sun poured through the windows, casting light on the well-worn counter, where Miss Thompson stood. Her steel-gray hair was pulled back tightly, her glasses perched on the edge of her nose like she was always ready to judge. People in town whispered about her authoritative presence. She seemed to hold the keys to dreams and disappointments alike. Jason swallowed hard. He was a single father, carrying the weight of his father's legacy, the family farm he grew up on, filled with memories of laughter, toil, and love. It was a patch of earth that defined him. "If I don't get this loan, I don't know what will happen to our home," he muttered under his breath. He stepped forward, determined to fight for what was rightfully his. "I'm here to apply for a loan," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. But Miss Thompson eyed him skeptically, her brow furrowing. "Mr. Jones, your credit history is not exactly promising," she replied curtly. "We have regulations. I can't make exceptions." Jason felt a tight knot in his chest. It was like she was tearing apart the very fabric of his family's history. "You don't understand. My dad built that farm from scratch. Every furrow in the field, every barn beam, those are a part of me. I want to keep it alive for my daughter, Lily. She deserves to grow up where I did." She crossed her arms, unimpressed. "And what about the farm's debts? You think just memories can save it?" He took a step closer, heat rising inside him. "It's more than just money. It's the tenacity my father showed. The grit he instilled in me. We're not just asking for a handout. We're asking for a chance." Before the air could crackle further with tension, the door swung open. In rushed Lily, her little face shining with excitement and innocence, clutching a letter with crayons scribbled among the edges. "Daddy, look what I found." Jason nearly melted at her smile, while Miss Thompson looked momentarily distracted. With childlike enthusiasm, Lily unfolded the letter, holding it high. "It's from Gramp. He wrote about how important it is to never give up and to help each other, no matter what." In that moment, Lily's voice echoed through the bank, warm and pure. He said, "Together, we can face any storm." Something shifted in the room. The patrons' hushed whispers swelled as they drew near, connecting over shared struggles and deeper stories. Faces Jason knew from the market or church, people who had faced their own trials, trickled in to support him. But Miss Thompson's expression faltered. Her walls built on policy began to crack. Could she really disregard the boy's plea when a child innocently speaking of resilience stood before her? The weight of community hung heavy in the air. Just as Miss Thompson opened her mouth, doubts gnawed at her conscience. Lily's innocent words lingered like a beacon, cutting through barriers. Would she rethink her judgments? The room buzzed, the emotions electric, leaving a question lingering in their collective hearts. Could one tiny voice, speaking of connection and spirit, change everything? As the words hung in the air, Jason held his breath, watching Miss Thompson's demeanor shift. Her stern expression softened, if only slightly. For a brief moment, he could see the glimmer of consideration in her eyes. "Mr. Jones," she started, her voice less biting. But just as quickly, the old walls of her authority manifested again. "The conditions of this bank are strict. I can't give you a loan based merely on nostalgia." "But it's more than that," Jason pressed, desperate for her understanding. "It's about a future. A legacy for Lily. She needs this farm. We need to keep our roots in the ground." Lily, still holding the letter high, leaned closer to Miss Thompson, her big eyes shining with hope. "If you help us, we can make it a place where kids can laugh and play just like Daddy did." The bank manager's resistance had visibly wavered as she glanced from Jason, with his worn and earnest face, to the glowing innocence of Lily. "I need to think about this," Miss Thompson finally said, glancing around the room as if searching for guidance. Then came a voice from the back. One of the town's elders, Mr. Anderson, stepped forward, his hands calloused from years of working the land. "When I was young, I took a chance on a loan with nothing but faith in the community behind me. It wasn't easy, but we pulled through." His voice, gravelly and lined with emotion, resonated through the room. If we don't support each other, who will? Others murmured their agreement, nodding with determination. They recalled their own fights, their own struggles, their reasons for being rooted in this little town. Miss Thompson stood silent, weighing the community's collective voice against her own rigid beliefs. Tears pricked Jason's eyes, a mixture of hope and dread. What if this moment turned, and they lost everything again? Perhaps she hesitated, glancing toward the gathered patrons. "I'd have to see a business plan and projections. But if that gives you a fighting chance, thank you," Jason whispered hoarsely, feeling the tide of anxiety start to recede just a little. "But I can't promise anything," she warned, regaining some of her earlier sternness. "You must understand that risk is high." "I understand," Jason replied, grasping at the new spark of hope. "We'll work together to prove it's worth the risk." Lily grinned wide, small fists clenching the letter. "You'll see, Miss Thompson. We can do it." As the room quieted, Jason felt the collective breath of support behind him, warming him like the sun. If only he could harness that light to fight for his family, his father's legacy, and the farm's future. But as the patrons began to drift back to their routines, the reality of what lay ahead weighed heavy on Jason. What if they didn't have what it took to convince her? What if, despite this moment, they succumbed to the bank's final decision? With thoughts racing and heart pounding, he hugged Lily to him, determined to fight, no matter the obstacle. Because this was for her. This was everything. As they began to leave the bank, Miss Thompson called after them, her tone more reflective. "Bring in your documentation tomorrow. I'll look at it before making a decision." Jason nodded, determination replacing doubt. But just as they stepped out into the sunlight, a figure emerged from the shadows of the bank's entrance. "Did I hear someone mention a farm? Where's the help in our community?" It was Nina, an ambitious real estate developer known for turning old farms into lucrative business properties. The unexpected challenge in her voice made Jason freeze. What was she doing here? And what did she want with the family farm? The question hung heavy in the air, echoing Jason's fear about losing the only place that meant home. Nina stepped closer, her glossy shoes clicking on the pavement, breaking the weighty silence that loomed over the scene. Jason could feel Lily tense beside him, clutching his shirt as if it were a lifeline. "What do you want, Nina?" Jason managed to ask, his voice steeled against the fear that made his stomach churn. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I've heard about your little venture here, Jason. A family farm trying to survive in a modern world? It sounds risky, doesn't it?" Lily's grip tightened, and Jason felt the heat of anger bubbling up inside him. "It's not just a venture. It's our home. Our legacy." Nina raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering across her face. "And what a legacy it is crumbling, wouldn't you say?" She gestured dismissively toward the vintage sign that read Jones Family Farm, the wood weathered and peeling. "Do you really think Miss Thompson will risk her bank's reputation on a nostalgic dream?" Jason's heart raced. The door to the bank was now closed, sealing off their chance. In that moment, it felt as if the world had narrowed to just him, Lily, and Nina. The elder's supportive murmurs faded, the warmth of the patrons dissipating into the cool evening air. "We're not going to let this place go," Jason said firmly, trying to hold on to his resolve even as doubt wormed into his mind. "If you have something to say, say it. But we aren't afraid of a fight." "Oh, I wouldn't call it a fight." Nina leaned in, her voice tinged with something sinister. "I'm talking about a partnership, Jason. You can't put your hopes into a loan that's not guaranteed." "But what if I could help you? What if I bought the farm from you?" A shiver ran down Jason's spine. "You want to take our land?" The idea disgusted him. Nina shrugged, nonchalant. "It's just business, really. I see potential here. A prime location for a commercial development. Picture it, a shopping center, perhaps some luxury condos. We both win." Lily shook her head, brows furrowing. "That's not what Daddy wanted. He loved this farm." "I don't care what your father wanted," Nina replied, her calm demeanor unsettling. "You're playing house. You'll lose everything without backing. So, why not be smart? Sell while you still can." Jason took a step forward, the heat of indignation fueling him. I refuse to let you, or anyone, take away my father's dreams. This is our life. I understand why you'd fight for it, Nina replied, her voice almost soothing. But think about your daughter. What will you gain by holding on to a sinking ship? If you choose me as a partner instead, I could ensure that she'll have a future. Lily's eyes filled with tears, and Jason faltered, drawn into the argument's emotional whirlpool. The prospect of losing everything was terrifying. The thought of a partnership with Nina was equally horrific. But could he risk his daughter's security for a dream that might not even survive the coming storm? Dad always said never settle for less, Lily whispered, her small voice breaking through the tumult. Nina smirked, unaffected. Your daddy isn't here. Listen to reason. Jason glanced at Lily, and in her gaze, he found strength. No, he declared. We'll find a way to keep our legacy alive. I'd rather take the risk than let fear dictate our future. As they turned to leave, there was a watchful silence behind them. The weight of community support still lingered, but now it felt more tenuous, like the last rays of sunlight slipping below the horizon. Suit yourself, Nina called after them, her tone a mix of mockery and challenge. But don't say I didn't warn you when you're begging for a lifeline. The reminder of their impending struggle weighed heavily on Jason's heart, yet deeper within him ignited a flicker of fierce determination. This is just the beginning, he whispered to Lily, taking her hand. We will fight for this. We have to. But as they walked away, he couldn't shake Nina's words from his mind or the chilling certainty that the battle had only just begun. What would it take to protect their home, and at what cost? The night wrapped around Jason and Lily like a heavy blanket, bringing with it a chill that seeped into their bones. As they walked away from the bank, the distance felt both freeing and suffocating. Jason's mind raced with thoughts. What would happen next? He glanced down at Lily, her tiny face set in a determined frown, and felt an unexpected surge of strength. Dad? She said softly, breaking the silence. Yeah, sweetheart? Do you really think we can save the farm? Like, really? Jason's heart ached with the weight of her question. He had always wanted to be the strong one, the one who assured her everything would be okay. But now, doubt crept in like the shadows around them. He knelt to her level, looking directly into her eyes. I want to stop fighting, Lily. This farm has always been our home, and I'll do everything to keep it. A thought flickered in the back of his mind, something his father had often said during tough times. There's always a way if you're willing to search for it. But how could he search when darkness lingered on the horizon? As they approached their house, a light flickered in the kitchen window. The faint glow was a comforting reminder of family meals and laughter. But it also reminded Jason of the empty seat at the table. His father had spent his whole life cultivating this land, tending to the crops and dreams that had been passed down for generations. Would all of that vanish because of Nina's relentless ambition? He opened the door and stepped inside, feeling the familiar creak of the floorboards beneath him. The scent of his mother's baking still hung in the air from earlier that day. Memories filled the room, wrapping around him tightly. He wanted to scream, to shout at the unfairness of it all. Instead, he took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. Let us make a plan, he decided, determination spilling from his lips like warm honey. Okay. A smile lit up Lily's face, and he couldn't help but return it. How could they find a way to keep their legacy alive? Maybe they could start by reaching out to the community, getting others involved in the fight. Before long, he and Lily were seated at the kitchen table, tossing ideas back and forth like paint on a canvas. They spoke of organizing fundraisers, community events, anything to rally support. Each suggestion felt like a tiny beam of light breaking through the darkness, but just as his hope began to rise, his phone buzzed. It was a notification from the local news outlet. A headline caught his eye: Local farm struggles. Bank denies loan in favor of new development project. Jason's stomach dropped. This was exactly what they feared. Their struggle was going public. Dad? Lily asked, concern creeping into her voice. He nodded, trying to keep his composure. It's okay. We can handle this. But as he read the comments flooding in beneath the article, anger bubbled inside him. People were speculating, judging them before they even had a chance to show what they could do. With a twist of desperation, he glanced at Lily. "Maybe we need to show them," he said, more to himself than to her. "Maybe we need to give them a reason to care." Lily tilted her head, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Like a big event? Something they LL remember?" "Yes. We'll turn this around." Jason stood up. Determination surged again, swirling like a gust of wind ready to carry them forward. But as he felt hope igniting, a deeper fear stirred. Would they truly have the community as support when Nina would surely be rallying her own allies against them? As he gathered their ideas, he couldn't shake the feeling that, while they were fighting for their farm, they were also stepping into a battlefield they hadn't expected. With newfound resolve, he looked at Lily. "Tomorrow we'll reach out. We can make this happen." But the looming threat of Nina's shadow loomed over him. What if their fight was not just against circumstance, but against a powerful enemy who would stop at nothing to see them fail? Jason's heart thudded in his chest. An upcoming storm loomed just on the horizon, and they would have to face it together. Little did they know, Nina was already making her next move, one that would affect not just their farm but the entire community. What kind of trouble was she brewing this time? The next morning, the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the fields. Jason awoke with renewed determination, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. He could almost hear his father's voice reminding him to keep pushing forward, to hold on to the dreams they built around the farm. "Lily," he called out, pulling himself from the blanket of sleep. "Today's the day we take a stand." Lily bounded into the kitchen, her hair tousled, but her spirit bright. "What's the plan, Dad?" Her enthusiasm was contagious, and Jason felt his heart swell with pride. "We're going to make flyers, invite everyone we know for a huge community event. They need to see what's at stake." He grabbed a stack of blank paper and pen. "Let us write down all the reasons why our farm matters." As they brainstormed, thoughts flowed like a stream. Memories of the seasons spent planting and harvesting, the laughter shared over campfires, the lessons in resilience. Each memory became a reason, a point they could rally around. But as they stuck flyers on every mailbox and lamppost in town, doubt crept back in. What if no one showed up? What if Nina's influence was too strong? He could feel it clawing at his insides, but he had to push forward. Later that day, as they strolled into town, Jason noticed the chatter buzzing around him. Neighbors whispered, casting glances his way. Some looked sympathetic, others less so. The article had put them front and center, their vulnerability on display for all to see. "Oh, there's Mr. Thompson," he said, giving a small wave. Mr. Thompson had been their neighbor for decades, a quiet man with deep roots in the community. "Hey, Jason," the older man called back, a hint of concern in his voice. "Heard about the farm. Tough break." "Yeah," Jason replied, his voice steady despite the weight pressing down on him. "We're going to host a community event this Saturday. We want to show everyone what the farm means to this town." Mr. Thompson nodded slowly. "I'll be there. We can't let it go, not without a fight." The support in his words ignited something in Jason. As they continued down the street, they stumbled upon a small cafe where they caught an unexpected sight. Many of the town's familiar faces gathered inside, deep in conversation. It was then that Jason noticed a woman animatedly talking with her friends. They all wore expressions of concern, but one stood out: Martha, the bank manager. "Let us go in," Jason said to Lily, who nodded eagerly. Upon entering, they could feel the tension in the air thickening. As soon as Martha recognized them, her brow furrowed. "Jason, Lily," she said, her demeanor shifting. "I'm not sure what I can do. The decision is out of my hands." "Is it really?" Jason broke in, feeling the fire rise within him. "We're not just talking about numbers here. This is our home. It's generations of hard work, and it matters." A few patrons turned to listen, their eyes widening. Moments of silence washed over the room, filled only by the clinking of cups and hushed whispers. Then one young woman stood up, a friend of Lily's from school. My parents love the farm. The community depends on it. Martha looked taken aback. We have guidelines and the development is, well, it's been approved. Before she could finish, another voice piped up from the back, but that doesn't mean we can't fight for it. The words hung in the air, a spark igniting among them. Jason glanced at Lily, feeling her warmth and eagerness beside him. If the community was rallying, maybe they had a chance. But as Nina's intentions loomed over his thoughts, he knew they had to act fast. The room buzzed with energy, ideas spiraling out like wildfire. Would they be strong enough to stand against Nina? Would they rally everyone together? The stakes were getting higher, and Jason could sense the storm was about to break. Let's make this happen. He shouted over the growing noise, raising his hands for attention. The room quieted, eyes focused on him. This is for our future. Are we in this together? In that moment, a renewed wave of hope washed over him. Yet the fear remained. What would Nina's next move be? He had to brace himself. Because the true battle was about to begin, and they would need every ounce of strength and support they could muster. Jason stood in the cafe, every heartbeat resonating like the roar of a drum. He could see the faces around him, filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. The energy shifted, a wave of determination washing through the crowd. They were primed for action. Let us start organizing, he urged. We need music, food, activities. We want everyone to feel welcomed. If people see our passion, they'll join us. Lily chimed in. What if we have testimonials? Stories from everyone who has worked on the farm? Their experiences mean just as much as any flyer. The crowd perked up, heads nodding in agreement. Each person seemed to realize they had a personal stake in this fight. Neighbor after neighbor spoke up, sharing their love for the land and the family who nurtured it. Remember when Jason's dad taught me how to plant tomatoes? A man said from the back, his voice shaking with nostalgia. That farm's been a part of my life. Another woman added, I learned to ride a bike in that big field. It's where my kids made memories. Lily's eyes sparkled as she caught the spirit of revitalization, nudging her dad. See, Dad? They care. We're not alone in this. But a dark cloud loomed unnoticed in the corner. Martha's expression was conflicted, her brows furrowing as she weighed her options. What if I leverage my influence? Convince the board to listen? Hope flickered through the crowd, but a nagging doubt crept into Jason's heart. Will it work? We're fighting against a big corporation. Will they really hear us out? The murmurs shifted again, but a wave of resolve surged with a young man who hadn't spoken yet. He stood, finally gathering the courage to share. I used to work for the company Nina represents. They don't care about the community or the farm. They want profits, and that's it. The room fell absolutely silent, everyone gripped by the weight of his revelation. What do you mean? Jason asked, gripping the countertop. Can you tell us more? The young man nodded, his voice tinged with urgency. They want to stop until they can manipulate the land to their advantage. But if you can get enough people behind you, if you can show them that the people matter, he hesitated, heart racing. You might just stand a chance. A woman near the front gasped, we need to amplify our voices. If we form a coalition, get a petition rolling. Lily interjected, her excitement infectious. Yes, Jason exclaimed, a fire igniting in him once more. He felt the goodness of the community surge through him, pushing away the shadows of his worries. Let us make a schedule. We'll meet every day until Saturday, plan out every detail. We will show Nina and her team that this community is united. We are not backing down easily. As they kept brainstorming, Jason's heart soared. Excited chatter buzzed around him. Ideas bounced back and forth like fireworks in the night sky. Each suggestion built a stronger foundation for their gathering. But among the excitement, Jason's thoughts drifted to Nina. Would she respond? Would her greed overshadow their aspirations? That ichor of fear bubbled beneath excitement. What if they faltered when it counted the most? With the cafe light dimming as the sun slipped lower in the sky, the crowd began to disperse. But Jason felt a weight cling to his chest. They were fighting an uphill battle. Yet, That one young man's words echoed in his ears. If they could unite, they just might change hearts and minds. As they walked home, Lily linked her arm with Jason's, her energy contagious. We're going to do this, Dad. I can feel it. People care. The warmth of her optimism nearly pushed away the cold anticipation of the fight ahead. But just as Jason was about to reassure her, a thought struck him. Lily, if we don't find a way to expose their true intentions, we may be out of time. The weight of it crashed over him. They had sparked something, but the real challenge still lay ahead. As the first stars twinkled in the night sky, Jason felt the urgency climb. Could they truly rally enough people to make Nina reconsider? Would they forge a path towards saving their home? Glimpses of the fight ahead replayed in his mind, but new resolve anchored him. The community was his lifeline, and together, they could achieve the impossible. All they needed was that one decisive moment, something to turn the tide entirely. But what could it be? As dawn broke, painting the sky in warm hues of orange and pink, Jason slipped out of bed, his mind racing with plans and worries alike. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. He needed to gather the community, but it felt like time was running out. They needed more than just passion. They needed a strategy. After a hasty breakfast, Jason and Lily headed to the cafe, where they spent the night brainstorming. It was lively again this morning, the smell of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the chatter of eager voices. People were already coming together, fueled by the momentum they had started the previous evening. Let us split into teams, Jason suggested as they gathered around a large table. We need people for outreach, planning the event, collecting stories, and gathering signatures for the petition. Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. Each person seemed to recognize their role, connecting their personal stories to the mission ahead. Jason couldn't help but smile as he saw a spark of purpose ignite in each of them. Lily stood and threw her fists up in the air, who's ready to make some noise. The crowd erupted in cheers, and a wave of energy surged through Jason. There was a real sense of unity in the air. It felt electric. All right, let us get to work, Jason responded, clapping his hands to rally everyone. They jumped into action, separating into different areas of the cafe. Lily and several others tackled the outreach activities that would encourage people to participate in their cause. Meanwhile, Jason set about drafting the petition and preparing to document the testimonials. As the hours flew by, laughs and camaraderie filled the air, and the cafe bustled with life. Jason felt a renewed sense of hope. The more they worked together, the stronger their bond seemed to grow. But in a quiet corner, he spotted Martha again. She was deep in thought, her expression distant. "Martha, are you all right?" he asked, approaching her cautiously. She looked up, her eyes carrying a storm of emotions. "I just don't know if leveraging my influence is enough, Jason. If I speak up, will they really listen? Or will I be ostracized for going against them?" Jason placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling the weight of her uncertainty. "We need your voice, Martha. You have connections that can help us. But we also need to be prepared for pushback. If we stand together, they can't ignore us." She took a deep breath, uncertainty flickering in her gaze, before she finally nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll help. But we need a solid plan. If we don't organize properly, it could backfire." Suddenly, a young girl rushed into the cafe, panting as if she had run the entire way. "I heard about the meeting," she exclaimed. "Can I help?" "Absolutely." Jason smiled, his heart racing with enthusiasm. "What's your name?" "Emily," she replied, her cheeks flushed. "I want to write letters to the board. I've got to tell them what the farm means to me." "That's perfect, Emily. Letters could really sway the board," he said, already imagining how her innocent words could touch hearts. As the group continued planning, Jason felt a sense of urgency rising. They had to capitalize on this momentum. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a message from Lily. "Dad, come quick. You need to see this." He glanced up, his stomach dropping momentarily as anticipation flooded him. What could have provoked such excitement? As he raced to find her, his mind drifted again to Nina and her looming presence. What if she countered their momentum with a smear campaign or an intimidating threat? As he crossed the cafe, his heart thumped louder with each step. He found Lily standing beside a makeshift bulletin board filled with posters and notes. "Look," she exclaimed, pointing wildly. There, in the center, was a weathered photograph of their farm, surrounded by a series of clippings and handwritten notes filled with love and memories. The younger man's testimony from the night before, printed and attached boldly on top. "This is how we expose them," Lily said with spark in her eyes. "If we share our stories and show the board the impact, maybe we can turn the tide." Jason's heart raced. Could this be exactly what they needed? But that unease still lingered. What if Nina got wind of their plan before they were ready? What if they come after us next? Jason wondered aloud, glancing around at the crowd. But just as he was praying for clarity, another text buzzed through. It was a forward from Martha, a notice about a meeting, a chance to confront Nina and her team directly. His mind swirled as he realized the stakes were higher than they had imagined. The moment had come, but were they really prepared for it? With determined faces around him, Jason knew he had to lead. "Let us seize this opportunity," he declared, the air thick with anticipation. "Together, we'll show them that this is more than just a piece of land. This is our home." And as they rallied together, Jason understood one simple truth: every action they took would bring them closer to the moment that awaited them. With a mixture of dread and determination, he thought, could this be the defining battle for their future? What awaited them in that meeting would soon reveal just how far they were prepared to go. The air was thick with tension as the hour approached. The cafe, once a hub of laughter and planning, felt different now. It was quieter, charged with a sense of anticipation that made Jason's heart race. He could see the anxiety etched on everyone's faces. Each person had their own reason for being here, a shared love for the farm, a personal memory attached to its fields, but now they were also united in fear of the backlash that could come with stepping into the lion's den. "Okay, everyone, listen up," Jason called out, breaking the silence. "We need to be clear on our strategy before we head to the meeting. This is about more than just our farm, it's about our future." He saw nods of agreement. Martha leaned forward, a fire igniting in her eyes. "I'll be your voice. If I can speak from my experience, I think they'll listen." "This is a chance to change everything," Jason reminded the group. "But we can't go in half prepared. Let us practice what we want to say. Make every word count." Lily quickly joined Jason at the front. A sparkle of determination crossed her features as she said, "I think we should start with stories. Those personal touches will remind everyone that this isn't just about politics. It's about real people and lives." With each person taking turns to voice their thoughts, Jason felt a profound sense of hope. It wasn't just strategy, it was heart. Emily piped up, her voice steady despite her small stature. "I want to read my letter. I want them to feel what I feel." The room shifted around her, each gaze turning to the young girl. Jason caught himself holding his breath, unsure how the others would react. To his relief, wide smiles spread across faces, a wave of encouragement washing over. "Yes, Emily. You should definitely read it." As the group practiced, Jason felt that familiar spark return, igniting a deep-seated resolve. But as he stood there, something tugged at the back of his mind. The meeting was about to begin, and what if Nina had a trick up her sleeve? What if she'd already prepared a counterattack against their forward momentum? "All right, team," he said, shaking off the doubts. "Let us do this. Stay sharp, stay united. We're not just fighting for land. We're fighting for our community." As they left the cafe, Jason felt the crisp morning air bite at his skin, pulling him back into focus. They walked together, their shoulders squared, each step syncing in time with the collective heartbeat of the group, hopeful yet anxious. When they arrived at the community hall, a strong sense of purpose washed over him. The building loomed ahead, its brick facade standing stony and proud, an unyielding reminder of the system they were up against. Inside, the board was already assembling, the atmosphere electric. Jason took a deep breath, turning to his friends. "Remember, this isn't just about us. It's about everyone who believes in what the farm stands for. We're a family, And this is our stand. With shared glances of resolve, the group entered the hall. The air was tense, charged with the murmur of voices and the rustling of papers. Just as they were taking their seats, a familiar figure strode confidently into view. Nina. Her eyes scanned the room, cold and calculating. Jason felt his stomach drop. Could she see the fear he had tried to mask? As she gathered her notes, Jason's determination solidified. It was now or never. He had come this far, and there was no turning back. Suddenly, a voice broke through the din. A woman he had never seen before stood up, clutching her purse tightly.
"Wait,"
she shouted, her voice echoing in the room. "I have something to say." All eyes turned to her. Who was she? What did she know? Jason's heart raced with intrigue and dread. What could this stranger reveal that could change the tide of the meeting? The room fell silent, an almost tangible weight pressing down on everyone. Jason's gaze locked onto the woman, trying to gauge the mood. Her hands trembled as she gripped her purse, cheeks flushed with adrenaline. Did she know the stakes? "What is it?" Nina's voice sliced through the air, sharp and impatient. The board members shifted in their seats, intrigued yet wary. The woman took a deep breath, summoning courage. "My name is Clara. I may not know much about your decisions, but I know about the farm. It was my grandmother's home. It was a place of joy, of laughter, and of love." Her voice wavered, but never broke. "It's been the heart of this community for generations. Taking it away would tear us apart." Jason could see the sympathetic murmurs rippling through the crowd, a softening of the hard edges that had defined the evening. Clara continued, her eyes bright with emotion. "When I heard they were planning to cut off the funding, I felt a part of me die. It's not just land, it's my family's history." He felt something shift within him, a spark igniting among the group. It was like she had opened a floodgate, and now stories were pouring through. One by one, others shared their connections. It was like each word peeled back layers of armor, revealing the raw heart of their fight. "Every summer, we'd harvest vegetables together," came a voice from the back. "That farm taught my kids responsibility and purpose. We can't lose that." "I met my wife there," another man chimed in, voice thick with nostalgia. "Our first date was under that old oak tree." So many cherished memories. Suddenly, the atmosphere was alive, electric with passion and irrepressible emotion. Jason stood there, heart racing. This wasn't just about strategy anymore. They weren't just fighting for land, they were fighting for their stories, their lives. Nina's facade slipped, revealing the annoyance beneath her polished surface. "This is irrelevant," she argued, but the murmurs of discontent rose against her. Jason could see doubt creeping into the eyes of the board members, but it was Emily who took a step forward, clutching her letter tightly. "I want to read what I wrote." Her voice was timid yet unyielding. The room quieted down, all eyes now trained on her. Jason felt his breath hitch. "Do it, he whispered, nodding at her. She took a shaky breath, the paper unfolding in her hands, and began to read her heartfelt letter. The words were simple, yet they dripped with sincerity, a truth that could pierce through any wall. As she read, he could see even hardened faces soften, some blinking back tears. Jason felt a swell of pride for the young girl, a tiny beacon of hope standing tall in a room full of giants. But as Emily finished, a murmur of resistance rippled through the assembled members. "Enough with the theatrics." Nina snapped, trying to regain control. "This is a business decision." The tension snapped back into the room like a taut wire, and Jason felt that familiar gnawing dread return. Was it too late? Before he could voice his thoughts, the stranger Clara raised her hand again, this time steady and firm. "If the farm is just numbers to you, then you're missing the entire point. It's people, it's family. Isn't that what this community stands for?" Jason could feel the energy shift again. The board members exchanged glances, some whispering urgently. Clara's words had rippled through the committee, and the tide was turning. "Wait!" a younger board member shouted, jumping from his seat. "What if we could rework the funding? A compromise, perhaps? Let us at least hear everybody out before we make our decision." A gasping hope flickered in Jason's chest. Could this really be happening? But just as he thought victory was within reach, Nina's sharp retort cut through the air like a dagger. Don't be naive. This is business, after all. You think they'd listen to the heart over profit? As the room erupted into chaos and dissent, Jason's heart raced again. Could they truly rally this army of voices to stand against her? Let us fight, he yelled, even as the room threatened to spiral. This isn't over yet. All he could grasp at was the uncertainty of what awaited them next. Would Clara's courage be the catalyst they needed? Would they unite against the opposition? In this tumult, Jason realized that the real battle was just beginning. How far would they have to go to protect their legacy? As he looked around the fierce faces of his fellow fighters, one thing was clear: this was no ordinary meeting. And then, an unexpected whisper reached his ears from the back of the hall, seeping through the ruckus. There are secrets about the land, hidden truths that could change everything. Curiosity seized him. What secrets? What truths? With hope tangled in uncertainty, Jason pushed through the crowd to find out more. Would this revelation light their path, or plunge them deeper into the darkness of their fight? The meeting's intensity crackled like electricity in the air. Jason's thoughts raced as he scanned the room, where people were either shouting in anger or pleading for peace. Clara's voice hung in the air, vibrant with emotion, urging everyone for unity. They had come so far, risking everything, and now it felt precarious. Secrets about the land? What do you mean? Jason reached the back of the room where the whisper had come from. It was Miss Turner, a local historian with a wizened expression and a weight of knowledge behind her eyes. There are stories, Jason. Stories that the town south been keeping close to the vest. If you want to make an impact, you need to know them, she said, her voice measured but urgent. There are contracts, family ties to the land that could change everything. The potential that lay in her words ignited a spark within him. If there were factors at play beyond what Nina and the bank had disclosed, they could leverage that information. Do you think we could use this at the meeting? He asked, heart pounding. Yes, she nodded, stepping closer, ensuring no one else overheard. The legacy of this land goes deeper than you realize. Many families have lost bits of it due to people like Nina, those who think only of profit. But if you dig, you may expose something crucial. With renewed purpose, Jason returned to his group. The emotional resonance of their stories still thumped in the air, but now he had a new weapon: truth. I think we need to dig deeper into the past, he announced. There are hidden truths about this land we might be able to reveal, and they could change everything. Martha, drawn in by the collective energy, nodded vigorously. I can help by reaching out to some of the older residents who might have documents or stories to share. We'll have to do it quickly, but if there's something solid, it could be the deciding factor. As the group rallied around this newfound direction, the board listened intently, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, doubt, hope, and fear blending together. Each story shared layered support upon Jason's vision, weaving a narrative of community, memories, and a fierce love for their land. Emily stood again, her small frame silhouetted against the backdrop of impassioned voices. We want to give up. The farm is our family. And family always sticks together. Her sentiment pierced through the chaos, and the room quieted. Every gaze returned to her. She had become their anchor, a voice of innocence that carried depth beyond her years. The chaos paused. With a newfound solidarity, Clara picked up where Emily left off. This is more than nostalgia. It's about the life we've built here, she said. Nina, you think this is just business. But do you understand what this farm means for our children? For our history? Nina's composure faltered briefly, a crack in her facade. Jason seized that moment, his heart racing. You're right, Clara. This isn't half-hearted. This is a life we've all invested in. It's our roots, our future. If we can show our legacy, our true legacy, through the stories that tie us to this land, then maybe we can stand a chance. His words fell heavy in the air, penetrating the resistant atmosphere. Several board members exchanged puzzled glances. A shift occurred as they dived into the depths of their unforeseen histories. The idea of legacy began to weave its way through the rationale of business recompense. Just as the tide seemed to be turning, a familiar voice broke through the murmurs. "I can't believe you're rallying support for nostalgia." Nina scoffed, a sharp edge creeping into her tone. "If we are to be practical, then there is no way we can overlook the modern advantage this development would bring." Jason stepped up, heart racing. "But what good is modernity without the heart of our town? What will happen to our stories, our values? Build your shopping center on concrete dust, but you'll lose the spirit that keeps this place alive, our connection that spans generations." Under the tension in the air, the room began to breathe again. People nodded, voices murmuring in agreement. The board members hesitated, and the momentum began to shift in a different direction, the direction of memories woven with a hope that wasn't just a wish, but powerful enough to change the course of the future. "I believe we can come to a compromise." A member from the board finally rose, glancing at the others. "If we could restructure the terms, allow for public input on any future developments, maybe we can find a way to protect the heritage." Cheers erupted through the hall. Jason's heart surged with gladness, but a voice inside warned him it wouldn't be over yet. This is just the beginning, he thought, fully aware that the battle was far from over. Yet in that moment of triumph, something in the corner of his eye caught his attention. Nina's face, set in stone as she processed her defeat, reflected a flicker of rage mixed with a growing resolve. "I think it's time for you all to realize," she began, her voice slicing through the celebratory murmurs. Jason could see it written on her face. The trouble was far from done. "It's not over. I will make sure of that." A chilling certainty settled in, reminding him that the fight for their legacy was now ignited. One thing was clear: they would need to keep their guard up. With renewed strength coursing through him and the warmth of community around him, Jason turned towards Lily, who watched with wide, hopeful eyes. The stirrings of a deeper fight lingered ahead, but they would face it together. "Stay strong," he whispered softly to her, a silent vow echoing in their hearts. "No matter what happens, we won't back down." And as the dust began to settle, Jason felt the clarity of purpose wash over him. They wouldn't just reclaim a farm, they'd reclaim the spirit of their town, their community, and their family legacy. But he also knew it was just the beginning of something immense, something powerful, something worth the fight. With the meeting still buzzing with discussions about terms and stories, Jason fixed his gaze into the hopeful horizon, and for the first time in a long while, he smiled. Let us keep moving forward. This was their moment, and with it, they would prove something profound. It wasn't merely about land or business. It was about love, connection, and the unbreakable spirit of family. The stakes had never been higher, but they were ready to write their legacy chapter by chapter. As the crowd swelled with renewed energy and ideas echoed around him, Jason was charged with hope. The real battle would come, but together, they stood ready to face whatever lay on the horizon. This was their fight to protect their roots, and they would fight for every inch. You need to subscribe now to witness every moment of this incredible journey. This is the moment to show your support and leave a like now to fuel our stories. Comment your feelings about this amazing ending and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to make your voice heard.